agreed. Happy Mother's Day. Tomorrow is Mother's Day here. Today is Mother's Day in Asia. So we get 2 Mother's Days. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Bindvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Start by sharing the screen. Up to part 9. Congratulations for us. So before we start the actual text, I wanted to share a photo. It really inspired me on Taka, on the recent photo of the foundation of Yerevan Temple. You can move back and forth on the photo and see how it started and see where it is today. So I made a slide out of it here. See what happens. There we were in 1999, creating a cement foundation with fly ash and no steel, and here we are today. So you can go back and forth on, when you're on the Taka page, on a computer at least, you can go back and forth the same way that did. It's quite impressive when you see it all standing there where nothing was standing in 1999. Starting with the publisher's desk. Written by Gurudev and published in Hinduism Today in January, the year 2000. It is entitled 7 Sadhanas of Silence and has the subtitle, How to Quell the Mind's Clack and Clatter and Enjoy the Natural Divine Peace of Your Soul. Oh, that's always the way to look at it, that we don't have to try and become peaceful, just have to find that part of the soul that's always peaceful. Makes it easier to do. Silence is very important. It is food for the soul. If we can make our mind absolutely silent, our body absolutely silent, and our emotions absolutely silent, just for a few minutes, we can quiet down. We then begin to draw divine energies from the central source of the universe itself. The noise of the mind, the noise of the emotions, and the noise of the physical body often block these divine energies. Or as they are oozing out from the central core of the universe, they get quickly used up in all the commotion we cause in ourselves and in others. Therefore, we have the practice of mauna, silence, just sitting and being quiet. Many people are afraid of silence. They have to be doing something all the time. Many people are also afraid of being alone. But actually no one ever is alone. He's always with his great divine self. Every person has a great divine self within, an absolutely perfect, shining, sublime being of light. The voice of this being is a loud silence. The voice of your soul is a loud silence. Many people have said that the voice of God is a deep, profound silence. So listen for God inside of you by quieting your mind. Do it through deep breathing. Breathe regularly, in and out, 9 counts in, hold 2 or 3 counts, 9 counts out. hold 2 or 3 counts. Keep doing that and let the thoughts pass by. Don't pay any attention to them. Listen to the silence within you with your inner ear. And the silence will become louder and louder. Oh, one might ask, how can silence become loud? Well, it will seem that it is loud to you. And you will know that you have actually attained a profound silence only when you come out of it and start hearing the noises of the room around you, the birds in the trees, people talking and chattering. Then you will know you have been experiencing the deep, profound silence. That loud silence, that roaring silence, the voice of your own soul. Don't be afraid of silence and don't be afraid of being alone. You were born alone. You didn't know what was going to happen until you very trustingly entered this world. And when you depart from the physical plane, you don't know what's going to happen really, though you can read books about it. But you go trustingly, and there is always someone there to receive you. When you are born, someone is receiving you. And when you depart from this world, someone will receive you on the other side of consciousness. Some silence is golden, others are silver, and a lot prove out to just be heavy metal, iron, zinc, or tin. A few kinds of silence are brazen brass. Silence can be learned. Let's begin at the bottom by silencing the brass. To do this, there is a sadhana, a spiritual discipline. The first of the 7 sadhanas of silence. The brass sadhana is to conquer jealousy, which bemoans, she has more than I do. He gets everything he asks for, while I get nothing or very little. It's unfair. This noise goes on daily in the mind of those in the jealousy chakra, Sutala, located in the knees, which has to stop spinning in the astral areas of the inner mind to make way for peace of mind. How do we do this? It is easy. Just begin to stop talking to yourself about what is unfair. Let all mental arguments go. Drop the subject. Be silent about the issue. Such a silence provides a place of harmony. Such a silence provides a place for harmony of minds, while too much noisy complaining about me and mine is no room for others. So that's the jealousy in the knees. The silence of tin is even a worse din. There's a little bit of humor here and there. Have you ever heard a child beat on a tin can? That's how the force of anger sounds. Clank, clank, clank. Not musical, not melodious, not even nice. The noise of anger, which vibrates in the Vitala chakra located in the thighs, has to be quieted to enjoy even the smallest sliver of silver peace. How do we do this? Well, it is expensive. A monetary sum is paid for each outburst, or even unexpressed wave of anger. A jar labeled anger penance is established in the shrine room, into which a monetary sum is placed each time anger is experienced. The greater the expression, the larger the sum. The money collected is sent to the charity of one's choice on the first day of each month. The silence of zinc comes next. It is quieting the force of fear. Yes, fear can produce a very noisy mind, but it is not beyond being controlled and courted into obedience. Fear creates. Often we create what we fear and make it happen by fearing that it might. We give it that energy, that possibility in our life. Fear vibrates in the Atala chakra, located in the hips. To bring fear under control is a powerful accomplishment. How do we do this? One way is through the power of affirmation, reprogramming the subconscious mind. An affirmation is a series of positive words in line with a visual concept, repeated time and time again. It can be repeated mentally or, preferably, verbally. Here is an effective affirmation for overcoming fear. I am the complete master of all my forces. My spiritual energies govern and control the force fields. Wherever I am for the highest good. Through understanding, being a pure soul full of spirited life, I am filled and thrilled with unlimited power now and forever. While repeating this affirmation, visualize a bright white protective shell around your outer aura with a round opening at the top. As you persist, the trembling voice of fear will desist. Now the silence of iron. Many of us have strong memories which become stronger as years go by. As strong as iron, they are there rusting away in the Muladhara chakra at the base of the spine. How do we silence memory? Write down or type in your computer and print out all that you want to forget. Then burn up the paper. Writing down problems and burning them in any ordinary fire brings them from the subconscious into the external mind, releasing the suppressed emotion as the fire consumes the paper. The memory still exists, but it has lost its emotional power. With the past thus stilled, we come to the silence of copper. We are climbing up the ladder of the chakras when we try to silence our reason, which in most of us is the noise of asking rhetorical and intellectual questions over and over again, questions that have no answers. Why did he do that? Does he not know better? And on and on and on. It is important for seekers to silence the tendency to rationalize, to explain away, to excuse and defend the ego. To silence this Svadhisthana chakra, located at the kidney level, some basic yoga must be done to empower the higher self. Controlled breathing, pranayama, helps harness and slow down the prana, energy that spins this chakra, as does hatha yoga. Sit quietly with the spine in a straight line. Breathe naturally as a baby breathes by using the diaphragmatic muscles below the solar plexus. Inhale. The diaphragm pushes the stomach wall out as the lower lungs inflate. Exhale. Relaxing the diaphragm, the air is expelled. Then pull the diaphragm in to push out the last bit of air. 9 counts in, hold 1, 9 counts out. This is a basic sadhana for the silence of copper. With the intellect quieted a bit, we can seek the silence of silver, stilling the willpower. Located at the solar plexus, Manipura chakra, spins constantly, being the nerve center that interconnects all the forces of the physical and astral bodies. How to quiet willpower. Competitiveness and mental domination must stop, for these direct the energies down to the lower chakras. The force of willfulness, in its negative expression, makes noises about self-preservation. Take care of me first and forget the others. Accept my opinions and disregard the others. This can be counteracted by the practice of speaking only that which is true, kind, helpful, and necessary. The silver sadhana is to use willpower positively to control the tongue, to be a helpmate to silence by speaking little and never boasting of ambitions or attainments. With the willpower subdued, the silence of gold comes into view. Without the L, it is God. So get the L out of it. Your silence is truly the voice of God. To quiet the Anahata chakra, the heart center of understanding, soul knowing, vision, and peaceful thoughts, is to not be a metaphysical know-it-all. It means not being a prophet or big ego and speaking about how others should live, but rather silently living the example of how one should be. Then we come to the platinum Vishuddha chakra in the throat. Here resides the force of divine love. Love is understanding, forgiveness, compassion, and benevolent selfless giving. It is the chakra that yogis enter to be truly silent. Here they cannot speak. Here they feel good and fulfilled. When to be silent then? If you don't know such details of your horoscope, an easy and pragmatic alternative is to be silent on the same day of the week you were born. Astrologers advise fasting and non-speaking on that karmically critical day. In the ensuing silence, you may discover what mystics have seen. Love in the will, the spirit is free. Oh, what a day when all see that the hope of the world is love. Enough said. Quite charming, isn't it? This material isn't in any of the books. Moving on to our next section. Controlling our thought, and is drawn from the publisher's desk. Letting go of past and future, and there's going to be a little overlap between what we just looked at and this one. This publisher's desk is based upon interactions with Hindu families visiting our Hawaii monastery who are trying to practice meditation. Almost always they ask the same question, which is that when they sit for meditation, they are unable to control their thoughts. So that's the origin of a lot of publishers' desks, is you get asked the same question a number of times, particularly within a couple of year period. It impresses you that there's lots of people who want to know this. So this is the first dilemma. After you've managed to sit still, you can't control the thoughts. So this publisher desk gives 5 suggestions for controlling thoughts based upon what type of thought it is. So we're categorizing our thoughts into 5 categories and applying a different tool to each of the 5 categories of thought. We quiet it in a different way. And some of the tools mentioned were mentioned by Gurudeva. Many individuals find that when they sit down to meditate, their mind is constantly thinking about past and future events. They find that their mental power is seriously dispersed rather than being intensely focused. Though less obvious, this can also happen when we visit a temple. How many times have you gone to the temple without being fully there? Part of you is there, part of you is living in the past, part of you is trying to live in the future, and there you were, emoting over the things that happened that should never have happened, and fearful of things that might happen in the future, which probably won't happen unless you continue being fearful of their happening until you create them. Second time today we heard that one. Focusing the mind, controlling our thoughts, is clearly central to successful meditation. The fact that Patanjali chose this subject for the 2nd verse of his Yoga Sutras affirms its centrality to the meditative process. Yoga is the restraint of the mind's modifications. In verse 12 he states, the restraint of these modifications is achieved through practice and detachment. In other words, we can reduce the mind's tendency to be constantly thinking about past and future events through certain practices. Beyond helping us be successful in meditation, a focused mind benefits us in other ways. With a focused mind, we will be more successful in our outer activities at work. Another plus is that a focused mind is a peaceful, contented mind. From that peaceful platform, we can turn within and more easily contact our intuition, our superconscious mind, the inner voice, and utilize the wisdom and creativity it provides. So this slide is trying to point out that meditation is not totally divorced from life, that the skills we develop in meditation can be very helpful in life and actually help us do things in better ways than we were before. A good way to measure the level of mental distraction you are experiencing is to walk outdoors with young children. They will always notice many more details of the surroundings than you because their minds are not yet drawn to past and future concerns. Having established the goal, a focused mind, a mind that is not constantly wandering into the past and future, what are some specific techniques we can apply to harness our thoughts? Let's look first at how we can conquer unnecessary thoughts about the past. Often we think about past events because they are not resolved. They are events that we do not fully understand or accept. Shouldn't have happened to me. Reconciling the past gives freedom and clarity, as Patanjali explained. When the limbs of yoga are practiced, impurities dwindle and radiant knowledge manifests, leading to discrimination as to their difference. What techniques can we apply to quiet thoughts about the past? So Gurudeva gave one in the publisher's desk we just read. In handling thoughts about the past, it is helpful to distinguish between recent unresolved events and those that happened some time ago. So recent events and those that happened some time ago. It's two categories. Out of the 5, there's 2 categories that relate to the past. The subconscious mind will for some weeks throw up or present recent events to the conscious mind many times a day. This is a clear indication that an experience is unresolved. After a few weeks, the subconscious will stop its frequent reminders and suppress the experience. Now, this is important to know. Why is the subconscious mind bringing it up? It's trying to let you know that it's unresolved. I have an unresolved experience here. Please resolve it. I have an unresolved experience here. Let's try and resolve this. But finally it gives up, because we would all go crazy if all the unresolved experiences were in our mind all at once. So it suppresses it, it hides it, goes away. But it's not really gone away, it's just not popping up all the time. So then it becomes another type of issue to resolve once we suppress it. So we want to handle it while we're still remembering it. Suppressed experiences accumulate in the subconscious, creating an anxious, troubled nature. Very true. It is good, therefore, to act to resolve each experience while this reminding process is going on, rather than to simply wait it out. It often works to seek a solution to the matter by discussing it with those involved. If we have hurt the feelings of others, an apology may be appropriate. If our feelings have been hurt, then we may need to forgive others. In such ways, the emotional component of the experience can be diffused and the matter resolved. Unresolved experiences that happened some time ago, this is the second category, will also come to mind, but less frequently than recent ones. It is usually no longer appropriate to apologize or to seek apology, as the other parties would not understand why we are bringing up the matter after such a long time. So this is the one Gurudeva mentioned. Good alternative is to write down anything from your past that concerns you and burn the paper, holding the intent that the memory will be neutralized. If you are successful with your subconscious journaling, you will still remember, but without the attending emotions. Same point. So this is our place at the Adinam for doing that. Has a little sign there which explains the process. And we have people we don't even know who will drive up, write down something and burn it. So it's caught on for some of our island residents. Resolving the past may be more of a challenge than one expects. A common problem is an inability to forgive someone, such as an abusive father or husband, for how they treated us. A helpful philosophical approach is to focus on the law of karma by affirming that something we did in the past caused those experiences to come to us in the present. So, you attracted it to you. It didn't just come arbitrarily. Father was simply the means through which that karma was experienced. Rather than continuing the unproductive pattern of blaming him, we can inwardly thank him for providing us the opportunity to face our difficult karmas. It is amazing how a simple change in our attitude toward such a thing can transform our reaction to it. Question for you: what techniques can we apply to quiet thoughts about the future? Oh, this one's similar to quieting thoughts about fear, because quite often what we're fearing is something we think might happen in the future. Many such thoughts fall into the category of worry. We are concerned that certain events may happen, sometimes to the extent of becoming fearful. A remedy that Gurudeva stressed is to employ a simple affirmation, "I'm all right now." Keep repeating this affirmation until you are convinced that everything is fine in the present moment. So that's the same as what Gurudeva gave. This one's different. Mulling over major decisions is another type of concern about the future. An example is sorting out the pros and cons of 3 job offers. Common practice is to ponder the decision often, but without thinking it through and reaching a conclusion, instead jumping each time to another topic. Hence it becomes a source of worry. So one of the reasons we do that is we really don't have enough time to think it through. We've started thinking about it, but the amount of time before we have to do something else is not sufficient to think it through. So we've started thinking about it in a time frame where we know we're not going to be able to solve it if we really step back and thought about what we're doing. An effective way to dispatch the matter is to make a formal appointment with yourself at a time you are free to focus on it fully. For example, 8 a.m. on Saturday morning. If you find yourself mulling it over before then, discipline your mind by affirming, "I have an appointment on Saturday to decide this matter, and therefore there is no need to think about it right now." Or you make an appointment with yourself. So we've taken care of the past, recent past, distant past, the future, general worries, and big decisions. We're taking care of 4 areas. These and other techniques can be used to focus the mind in the present rather than dwelling on the past or the future. So as you know, the goal is to not dwell on the past or future in unproductive ways. We don't want to think about the past or future in a way that's not deliberate. It's like we don't want to jump on the computer and use the internet without a really good plan where we're going. Once the strong pulls of past and future have been subdued, we can concentrate on reducing the miscellaneous thoughts about current concerns, such as plans for the day or the news we saw on TV last night. So we're finally in the present. What techniques can we apply to quiet thoughts about the present? Well, again, this is the same one Gurudeva gave, so I won't read it. Breathing. When it comes to thinking about the present, what's for dinner, things like that, All we have to do is regulate the breath and then slow the breath, and that will slow the thinking process, because breathing and thinking are interrelated. You focus on one, you influence the other. Well, congratulations. At that point, we've quieted all 5 types of thoughts. What happens next? When we manage to center our mind in the present and quiet the cacophony of miscellaneous thoughts, we experience a higher state of consciousness. Gurudeva refers to this as the eternal now. Here's a comment from him. The mind lives in the past and the mind tries to live in the future, but when you quiet your mind, you live in the present. You are living within your soul, or the higher state of your mind, which is undisturbed by the things of time. One of the abilities available to us once we have freed ourselves of vexations of past and future is to clearly see patterns in our life and in the lives of others. It is the proverbial state of being able to see the forest instead of the trees. In his early teaching years, Gurudeva cultivated this ability by taking his devotees on pilgrimage each month to the top of a nearby mountain from which they could look down on the cities below. This practice was helpful in developing the skill of perceiving the overview. An example of a typical mental pattern that can be seen and then improved upon is the habit of making a decision to pursue a project, but then giving it up when the first major obstacle is encountered. Once this tendency to quit is perceived, we can work to create a new habit of persevering in our endeavors, even when faced with obstacles. Second example is a tendency to make resolves to increase our spiritual practices, sadhanas, but then relinquish our commitment after spending time with non-religious friends. This problem can be overcome by spending more time with spiritual friends and less time with naysayers. Another benefit that comes from living in the eternal now is the ability to turn within and feel the spiritual power within the spine. There's a dynamic force there that, when experienced, gives us renewed inspiration and positiveness. When we are feeling a bit discouraged, we can find new energy and enthusiasm to meet the tasks at hand by quieting our thoughts and tuning into this spiritual force felt along the spine. Final insight from Gurudeva on the eternal now. Can you visualize yourself right at this instant, balanced on the top of a tall tree? If the tree were to bend too far forward, you would fall to the ground, or down into time and thought. If it were to bend too far back, you would again fall. Balanced on the top of this tree, you can look out over the countryside and enjoy everything you see. But if you stop to think about one thing of the past, you would become so engrossed in what you are thinking about that you again fall to the ground. You find that you cannot live in a thinking consciousness balanced so high. Here you live in the eternal now, with great awareness of what is around you and within you, but with no thought on it. That's our last slide. Om.